everyone. Good evening. Can everyone hear us? Okay. Everyone here? Good. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We appreciate it. I know leaving your family at night is always a challenge, so we appreciate you coming out this evening and getting to spend a little bit of time with us. We hope we'll be able to answer as many questions as we can tonight so you can leave here feeling a little more confident about your child starting at George Mason next year. For just a show of hands quickly, how many of you this is your first student coming to high school? Okay, I can't lie, that's my favorite because it's so new and it's exciting to help you guys through that transition. How many people in this audience have had students come through George Mason or here or in the past? Okay, great. You guys are going to be the helpers. So really quickly, my name is Alana Reyes. I am the Director of Counseling, and this is...
Hi, I'm Valerie Chesley. I'm one of the counselors for students with last names P through Z.
Hi, I'm Brad McAdam. I'm a counselor here for students whose last name is G through O.
And we have another counselor, Dana Kieran. She has students with the last names A through F. She is currently on maternity leave, but she will be back this month, so don't worry. She'll be here full year next year. So we're just going to go through. These are basically the things we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk about diploma types, an understanding of the GMHS transcript, because I'm not going to lie, it is different from your transcript when you were in high school. Our course selection process for 9th grade and our course offerings. And then I'm going to delve a little bit into the IB program after we finish the student services part of the program. Mr. Coase wasn't able to attend tonight, so I'll kind of put a stop on this first part, and if those would like to stay for a little bit of IB information, I'd be happy to continue with that for you, but no need. That is really once you're transitioning into 11th and 12th grade, but I know a lot of people want to have that full breadth of information as they enter high school. Okay, so we've introduced ourselves. Mr. Palermo, who is our college and career specialist, was not able to make it tonight, but he will be available for your students once they transition here. All right. It's a lot of information. The great news is we will post the PowerPoint and the video online, and so you don't have to memorize or take pictures. It'll all be available later on. So one of the first things that we hear when students come into 8th grade or coming into 9th grade, they'll say, what kind of diploma do you want to get in high school? And the first thing they say is, I'm going to get the IB diploma. Wonderful. That is great. Unfortunately, the IB diploma will not get you across the stage at Constitution Hall. Okay, and that is our #1 goal, is to have students graduate from a Virginia high school. And so the IB diploma is like the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, which gets you out of here. But the IB is extra. The two diplomas that get you across the stage and allow you to graduate in Virginia are either the standard diploma or the advanced diploma. And for those of you that had students that have graduated from high school previously or currently here, unless they're in 9th grade right now, the requirements have changed. And so we're going to go over this a little bit tonight, and I actually think it's a real positive what have been the changes versus where we were. So all the new requirements started for the class of 2022, so your kids will be that second on the list. And all this information will be online in our course selection book. It's kind of hard to read. So there are two different types of diplomas in the state of Virginia. Okay? We have the advanced diploma and the standard diploma. When students walk in here on their first day of 9th grade, we just assume that everyone's going for the advanced diploma. It is the track that most of our students are on because they're taking core classes and they're pushing themselves regardless of what kind of learner they are. Those classes that are required for the advanced diploma are typically where our kids are heading. I will tell you, you can earn the advanced diploma, you can earn the standard diploma, you will go to college, you will graduate from here, your life will still move on in a perfectly wonderful way. The only people that know the differentiation between the standard and the advanced are the counselors, you as parents, and on the transcript it says standard or advanced. But beyond that, it's really a Virginia thing. Every state does their own diploma set of requirements.
And you can get an IB diploma with a standard diploma as well.
Right.
A lot of people think it's only for the advanced, but that's not true.
And that's really important because a lot of people think, oh, the standard diploma, I can't go to college with that. Well, believe me, our IB diploma candidates are definitely going to college in high numbers. So the biggest difference between the two are the number of credits that you're required to take. Our students that are graduating from George Mason are almost always graduating above and beyond the minimum number of requirements, but the difference are the minimum number of requirements and the types of classes. So for the standard diploma, you need the 4 years of English, but then you only need mandatory 3 years of science, math, and social studies. In the advanced diploma, you need 4 years of all those core areas. No matter what, you will take 2 years of PE. So if your student is not a PE kid, they are done by 10th grade. Whenever we talk to the 8th graders, we'll go talk to them next week, you hear half the room go, like that sigh, don't have to do it. We try to make it as painless as possible for the 2 years that they're here. The biggest differentiation between the advanced and standard diploma is going to be the world language requirement. In order to graduate with the advanced diploma, you need at least 3 years of one world language or 2 years of one and 2 years of another. For the standard diploma, there is no world language requirement. Sometimes people say, do I need an exemption? Nope, you don't need to have a world language to graduate from a Virginia high school. Every student in Virginia needs to take economics and personal finance. That is a requirement while we're here at George Mason. And then the number of electives that students have to take. The biggest difference now versus in previous years, students only need 5 SOLs to graduate, no matter what. And that, I think, is really awesome. The state has recognized that we were over-testing and overburdening these kids with these high-stakes tests that, in the end of the day, where were they getting them? And so they've cut down on the number of tests. I will tell you, when your student is in high school, the SOLs they will take the biology SOL. So if they're going to take biology in their freshman year, they'll take it then, if not sophomore year. They will take at least one math SOL. So no matter when your student is in high school, they will take one math SOL. But let's say your student's in Math 8 this year, they go into Algebra 1 next year. If they pass their Algebra 1 SOL, they are done. They no longer have to sit for the Geometry or Algebra 2 SOL. They will not have to take a World History 2 SOL if your student takes and passes World History 1 SOL this year in 8th grade. So that's incredible, one less thing for them to worry about. And then they will have 2 English SOLs in 11th grade. And all of the skills they learn in 9th and 10th grade, and they've learned K through 8, build into passing those reading and writing SOLs for graduation. Any questions on that? Awesome. Okay. Oh, do you have questions? So what's on a transcript? And I think it's important to see the end result, where you're heading, so you can understand why they're doing what they're doing now. We'll go through and I'll explain. Obviously, you probably, I don't know if you can actually see this. You can, it's a little small, but it's a lot of stuff, and that's why it's important for you to see. At the top, those are, you can see it says Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School. Any course that your student is taking in 7th or 8th grade that's high school credit will go on their transcript. The only classes that will typically end up on there are going to be the math classes, Algebra 1 and above, World History 1, and a world language above the 1A, so Spanish 1, French 1, Mandarin, and up. Their electives are not on there, and if you're in 1A this year, that will not be on there as well. Yes?
You say 3 or 4 years of the language.
Yes.
Does that include what's coming from period or 4 years why you need?
No, it does. It's considered a high school. That's a good question. The question was what they do at Henderson, will that count towards their high school diploma requirements? Absolutely, it counts. As long as it's level 1. So level 1A and 1 don't count as 2 years, just level 1 will count. Okay? So if they're in Spanish 2 right now, next year they're in Spanish 3, they're already in a 3rd year of their world language. So those go on there. You can see we actually split. This is a student's 9th grade year. This is first semester, second semester. We show our classes in 0.5 credits, and so they have their full year is represented in 2 separate pieces. What I love about our transcript is it doesn't show quarters. It only shows semester grades, and I think that's so important because our kids go like this, right? And sometimes they're doing great, and sometimes they slip a little bit. And you know what, if they mess up, they have the opportunity to rebound, and that's not going to show to anyone in the end of the day. As long as in the end, they're able to produce what they want to do, that's what will be reflected on the transcript, not their quarter grades and not their exam grades. Again, we show the credits they earned. If they're in an honors class, you'll see an H there. An IB class, an AP class, or DE stands for dual enrollment. That's all noted on the transcript as well. It's a lot, I know. GPA, credits taken, but this is my favorite part to talk about. Attendance. Attendance is required on all Virginia transcripts. And I think it's a nice reminder for students that we need to come to school, right? And we want students to take care of themselves. Obviously, if there's a significant mental health issue or physical health issue, we want students to make that their number one priority. And anything can be explained when students are applying to college. But those extra days of, oh, I just don't want to go, they add up. And they're reflected. And so it's a great thing when you come to high school for you to be able to say to your student, colleges are going to see that. Just a little reminder. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
So why is it that so
No, please.
we're old school, right? So our transcripts just had a full year and it had the grade.
Yes.
And you're not seeing the delta between the first semester and the second semester. So why are we doing that now?
That's a fantastic question. Sure. The question was, why do we show semesters? In most traditional schools, you'll see year-long classes. I come from a different system originally, and I asked the same question, and the answer that I've always been given is that because we had so many kids coming in and out, it allowed for students to earn credit potentially as they were leaving or coming in. There are many conversations about how we will move forward with grading. This is what we currently do. As we move forward in the next couple of years, there may be changes, for sure.
So the universities will see that maybe you had a crappy first semester and a good second semester, but they're seeing both. They're not just seeing the
They are. And a lot of the thought behind that, in addition, is that they have a lot of times in some schools, if a student has a bad first semester, they're kind of wiped out for the year. And they have no hope of regaining that second semester. And so it's like, what's the point of even trying in second semester? Here, it is a fresh start. So that is the upside to it, for sure. And I will tell you, colleges, I've kind of seen them look at transcripts and they kind of like average it out. They're not looking at it as a pure grade. And I will tell you, we obviously have a very high college acceptance and rate of admission, but also attendance. Colleges know us. They know what is coming from us. We're not an anomaly to any of the major universities or colleges in the country, and so they kind of know what to expect
just so
from
we're
us.
clear, George Mason has always done this. This is nothing new.
No.
This has been
Yeah.
50 years. The way we've done this.
Do you have a
They
question?
know us.
Is absences just high school, or is that?
Just high school. Let them enjoy the year. No, I'm kidding. So we already talked a little bit about what's on the transcript. By the end of 9th grade, your student will have a minimum of 7 credits just from 9th grade. But if they're coming in with 2 to 3 credits, that will just add on to what they're already getting towards their graduation needs being met. Any questions on anything else transcript-wise? Yes, please.
So if they have a year-long course, there's no calculation of a final grade for that course? Or if they have a final exam, how does that count into the census?
Great question. Funny enough, almost every single one of our classes in this building are year-long courses. We note them on the transcript as semesters, but there's typically a culminating activity at the end of first semester, whether it's an exam or a big project, whatever the teacher and the curriculum team decides is the best for that course and that age level. They do that, they earn their grade, and then second semester they do the same thing. So we don't, for electives, for all the things that your students are used to at Henderson, it's a little bit different when they're here at Mason. They're in full year classes. Yes?
Can you choose not to carry forward an 8th grade grade that would count?
Absolutely, that's a great question. The question was, can you choose to not carry forward an 8th grade grade? Yes, you have the opportunity to expunge grades. That requires you to write a letter to the counselor and to Mr. Hills when they get here and explain that you want to expunge the 8th grade grade. I would say, do that judiciously. We've had families that immediately say, I want all those classes off. Well, the SOLs that accompany those classes also go away. And sometimes you have hiccups along the way in high school that were unexpected, and taking off those 8th grade grades, it creates kind of mass chaos once we're in it. So I would say have conversations with your counselor when you start here to see if it's the best thing and when the right timing is.
But you don't have to do it before you start high school.
No.
You can do it at any point.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Yeah.
Does the 8th grade grades come with the GPA?
The high school credit-bearing ones do. So the algebra ones, world language, and world history.
It's kind of basic findings.
Yeah, it's 4 and a couple credits. Yeah. Yes.
Going back to your earlier point, just to make sure I understand.
Please.
So, my son's taking a math class, for which he could get credit. High school, can he do the math right in senior year, say, you know what, I don't want that freshman year grade? Or do you have to do it, you can do it any?
I would say you'd want to do it before they start their senior year because we start sending out transcripts at the beginning. But yes.
Not necessarily when you arrive.
No.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes. That's a, yes. So does it make it clear?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. Okay. Yes.
What is dual enrollment?
Great question. Dual enrollment, we offer 3 classes here in the building. They're tied to Northern Virginia Community College. They're taught here at the high school by our teachers, but those teachers are certified through NOVA, and students can get anywhere between we have 4 classes, 6 to 8 credits for those courses. They can't take those classes until they're typically 16 years old. So junior and senior year, we offer a few. Okay. So we talk about Transcript because that's the final product of the classes that your students are going to be choosing starting next week. And so this is kind of the process that we advise for parents. At the beginning of next week, we'll be posting our program of studies for 2019-20. Those will be the anticipated classes that we expect to be offering next year. Look through it. Get a sense of what the courses are all about. Ask your neighbors. This is one of the best things about living in Falls Church is a small community, and their children will have a really good sense of what the course was like, the expectations, and just to get a feel if it's the right fit for your child. Talk to the teachers of the classes your children are in. I would say they're the best gauges of what's the right fit. I know Mr. Block teaches Algebra 1, and I know he's going to be completely honest about where your student should be heading in 9th grade. And I would just say get their opinion. Your students are going to need to talk to their teachers based on their recommendation for what they should take in 9th grade, but if you have any questions, reach out to them as well. And this, I think, is the most important piece. Choose the most challenging courses in which your student can be successful in. Success is measured differently in every family, and I would say you need to do what's right for you and your child needs to, it's so hard to say, don't worry about what your friends are doing, do what's right for you. But your child might come home and be like, oh, my friends are taking Honors English 9, I'm gonna do Honors English 9. And you say, but you don't like to read. They shouldn't probably do Honors English 9. What I would say is, you know what, do regular 9 next year. Rock it out, and then do Honors 10. Just because a student doesn't do honors level next in 9th grade doesn't mean they're closed off to progressing as they go ahead. There's never a door shut. We're an open enrollment policy, and we encourage children to challenge students. Sorry, I have little kids at home. It's just the natural thing I say. We want students to challenge themselves, but appropriately. Their mental health, their well-being, their safety and happiness is our #1 concern, and having students burn out in 9th grade because of the number of honors classes they're taking, for me, that breaks my heart. And so we want to do what's right for your child, and only you guys and your family know what that is. Also, what do you define as success? I told a story this morning, and Mr. McAdam laughed at me, but there was a student who had never gotten below an A, and in 9th grade, I asked him in senior year, what was the best class you took in high school, or which one had the most impact? And he said, Honors English 9 with Mr. Walsh, where he got a B. And I was like, why? And he said, because I worked so hard for that B, and I was really frustrated, and we were talking about it all the time at dinner, and my parents know if I should drop. It's a B. Let's keep this in mind. But for him, that was a real test to his success that he'd met with before. But it also opened his eyes later on to say, you know what, I'm going to have to work harder for things than I'm used to doing, and for that, it pushed him forward. Any thoughts on that piece?
No, I'm not going to make fun of you today.
Oh, that's what happens when you're being recorded. You guys missed the first session. Yes,
I think you said this earlier, but
please.
are there any choices in 9th grade that really impact the IB decision later on in the IB track? I understand that you can still go to IB regardless of what you take, but is there anything we should keep in mind if they're thinking about keeping that option open?
That's great. That's a great question.
I would say language, the foreign language that the student signs up for. You know, once they take something in 9th grade, it would be really hard to change in 10th grade and still earn the IB diploma. I mean, it's possible, but I would really look at that.
Keep taking language.
Unless they're
In the same language.
Yeah, in the same language, right. Expecting to switch and get the IB diploma, but anticipating you're going to stop taking in 10th grade, that won't allow you to earn the IB diploma. In terms of going in the honors track or just the standard classes, we can talk about that when we get there, but I think that's a great question. So the process that we're going to go down in the next couple of weeks. Next Tuesday or Thursday, we're going to be meeting with your students in small groups. The counselors will go over and we'll pull your kids. Mr. Sowers broke them up, and so they'll be with their alphabet. If anticipating all things remain the same for next year, they'll meet their counselor for next year. They'll talk about classes in groups of about 20 to 25, I believe, and they'll get to ask questions, and they'll get to fill out the registration sheet. We'll talk about what's entailed in all the classes, kind of what to expect so they can make the best choice. After they get that sheet, they're going to talk to their teachers. They're going to get their opinion. Teachers also will be signing off for what they've chosen. We are an open enrollment policy, and I think that's really important to note. The student's teacher's input is invaluable, but if they can say one thing and you can choose something else. That is your right. Once they are done with that, they'll take the sheet home. By Friday, your child should have a piece of paper from us. If they say they don't, I would inquire a little more because we even have a make-up session, so they should have it. We're not keeping copies of those. That goes to them, and I know that's like a really big responsibility because in my house, I wonder if that would make it home. But that's our first step. On the back of that sheet, it will have directions on how to register for classes in Power School. But I know Mr. Sowers will be following up with students, making sure by the end of February that everyone has everything in and answering any questions that students might have in the process. Talk to your kids about their choices. We want them to have some autonomy in making the right decisions and letting them choose classes for themselves, but obviously we need everyone to be on the same page. So, please.
Parents have the opportunity to see what the courses are before that Friday. Kids come home as a black box to us.
It's just a piece of paper. Nothing is in the system. That is what you guys do at home, and we're not finalizing classes for a while. So
You mean like what courses are available? Is that what you're...
Yeah, well, do we have a chance to see them before they start making their selections?
So,
The program studies.
the program of studies will be online. I can show you guys after we're done with this, I'll show you what the piece of paper looks like, just so you'll know what their choices are. But that's actually what we're going to talk about tonight, are their choices as well. So, going right off the bat, what you guys know when you were in school is English, in IB terms, is language and literature. And so all students take a language and literature class. Your two options are Lang and Lit 9 and Lang and Lit 9 honors. And the biggest difference is the amount of reading and writing that they're required to do. And so if your child, they don't have to be in honors 8 to take honors 9. I need to point that out. But they have to be willing to work hard and to put in the effort. I really do feel that in almost every class, if they put forth the effort, and they continuously work, which is really hard for most of us to sustain, but if they're putting up forth that effort, they can be successful in these classes. So those are the two options. Next is individuals in science. Individuals and societies, otherwise known as history or social studies. The only option for 9th grade is World Civilizations 2. It's the course after World History 1. You guys, your students will go through 1500. We'll pick right up where they left off and go through present day. I walked past a class the other day in Mr. Visna's World History 2 class, and I was like, what are they doing? They were writing limericks about the Industrial Revolution. I was like, that sounds awesome. Actually, and we judged an American Idol contest in Mr. Singer's class where they had to write and sing songs about the isms of the 19th century. And so the stuff they're doing is pretty cool. There is no honors level, so everyone is together, and it's actually one of my favorite classes that we offer here at George Mason. Science. So this is where we start to have some real choice. We have 3 sciences offered for 9th graders: environmental science, biology, and biology honors. Environmental science, if your student struggles with science, but they also might struggle with some vocabulary, biology is really vocab heavy. And so if science is not your child's thing and they really do have a hard time in the 8th grade year of science, I would encourage you to explore environmental science. There's no SOL associated with it, and it really not only is real life usable science stuff, but it's not gonna tax them to the point where we're turning them off from science. We're hoping to start gaining that science vocabulary and building so they can continue on and be successful. Then is biology. It's the same biology we all know and love. And then last is biology honors. The science department came up with something, what did I call it? Yeah, it was, you want to talk about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the honors biology teachers came up with a diagnostic beginning of last year to kind of help give students an idea of sort of what would be expected for them if they were to take the honors level course. And so that diagnostic has been shared with the 8th grade science teachers, and they will be giving a copy of that to the students starting tomorrow probably. So they have that and you to take home, and you guys can take a look at it. It's really just meant as an informational item for you to see and your child to see, oh, what's kind of going to be expected of me if I come into this class. So I think it could be a helpful tool for you if you're kind of on the fence.
It's not being returned to us. It's not a test we score. We want you to talk about it with your child to make sure it's the right fit for you and for them, not you. All right, math. This is where things start to get a little confusing because every student in here is in a different situation with math. These are our most typical offerings for rising 9th graders. So for students that are in math this year, and math is something that is a struggle for them, where they've just historically had a tough time and it continues, they're working, but it's tough. We're going to offer next year, we're bringing back a class called Algeom 1. It's a 3-year algebra and geometry sequence, which will slow the math concepts down and really allow them to develop those foundational skills that they might have struggled with previously. And so what they will do is next year, they'll take Algeom 1. There's no SOL associated with it. They'll take their Algebra 1 SOL in sophomore year. And then they'll continue in sophomore year with algebra and then moving into geometry concepts and then finish geometry out in that 3rd year. It's really important to know that even though it is a 3-year class, students with an IEP can get 3 math credits for this class. Students that do not have special education services, they can get 2 math credits and an elective credit for that. And so if it's something that you're thinking might be the right fit for your student, I would encourage you to speak with Mr. Sowers, speak with the math teacher. They can kind of explain all of that. I know Ms. York is laughing about Algeom. It's a great class. Next, we are offering Algebra 1 for students that are in Math 8. They're doing Math 8. Algebra 1 is the next step that's appropriate. We do not offer Algebra 1 honors at the 9th grade level. Next, we also have geometry. If your student is in regular Algebra 1 this year, I would encourage them to take geometry next year. This is where it gets confusing. Okay, if your student is in honors Algebra 1 or regular Algebra 1, but if they're in Algebra 1, whichever level, in 8th grade, we've created a new course this year called Geometry/Algebra 2 Honors, okay? And what we've done is for students that might have not matured as quickly in the math arena, but they want to continue to push themselves. They want to be able to reach the highest level of math they can, and they're there and they're ready to challenge themselves. We've combined the 2 courses. It's a quarter of geometry and 3/4 of Algebra 2. It's fast. It's a lot of work. It's only for the students that really, really want to push themselves. And I don't want to scare anyone about the class, but when we say rigor, it's rigorous. Mr. McAdam, you said something about the beginning of the year, people...
Yeah, I think we probably had about 10 students who ended up dropping the course at the beginning of the year because they just found that it was moving too quickly for them. So it's just something to keep in mind. Again, I know Falls Church is a small community, so maybe talk to some of your friends who had maybe a child that's either taking the class or trying to take the class and kind of just get a sense of what that might be like. Again, I mean, the reason we did this was for the best intentions of having these students who maybe didn't have a chance in middle school to quite get to that highest level, but now we're giving them this chance to jump up and be able to take eventually the higher level math course. Mm-hmm. This kind of gives them that opportunity to do that by kind of getting on an even playing field with the students that were in honors geometry in 8th grade.
And I want to be clear, when we say the highest level math class, we're talking about like you're going as, if you do this, you can go as the highest level class we offer here, which is HL1 math is junior year, which is BC calculus, and then you take 1 extra year of HL2 math. And so if that's not your child, which is, I mean, not a large population that we have here, but for our students that do push themselves and want to get to that place, that is an option. It is not for everybody. We want it to be right for your family. Yes?
Is there a place online or elsewhere where we can see the track?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Like what this would
program
lead
is
to
set.
versus what it would, you know?
Absolutely, no, we actually have a flowchart online, so that should explain everything. I almost put it up here, but then you get like super in the weeds. And if they're in honors geometry in 8th grade, They have two choices. They can either do Algebra 2 or Algebra 2/Trig honors. Again, talk to the math teacher, see what's the right fit for your child, and then we will make sure they're appropriately placed. Okay?
Yep.
Yes, same class. If the question was, is the honors class, is it Algebra 2 and Trig? And yes, it's a combined class. Yes.
Are those the three math ones with this, are those the same that the grade teachers classes, or just that geometry algebra?
That's a great question. The question was, are these the three most rigorous classes? It depends. I would say in terms of speed and the amount of work and just all around rigor, obviously the honors levels are going to be the highest level of rigor. Your student, if they're in honors geometry this year, and it's fine, it's good, they are not in love with the math, but they've gotten to that point, they absolutely can go into Algebra 2 and slow themselves down a little bit if they think that's the most appropriate thing. It just depends where your child is in their 8th grade sequence and what the next step is. So that's kind of depends. Yes?
So just to clarify.
Please.
If you take Algebra 2 next year, then there would be a year-long trig course that comes later. And then, but if you take Algebra 2 trig honors, that builds, then you would skip to what, pre-calculus?
There's not a year-long trig course. It may be important just to know that very few, I'm talking maybe 4, 9th graders are in Algebra 2. It's just very rare that a 9th grade student would be in just this regular Algebra 2 class. It's just because most students in honors geometry right now will go on to Algebra 2 honors. Unless, they're just having an incredibly difficult time, and if that's the case, they probably should just retake the class, honestly.
Yeah.
They maybe go into this one, and just kind of get their footing again.
And we did have a couple of students do that last year, if I'm not mistaken. They were in honors geometry and for whatever reason just had a tough year. And it wasn't because of their ability, it was because of just mitigating circumstances. And so they took this year and have been able to stay on the same track they were on. Yes?
You talked about 10 students who dropped out of the honors geometry. How many stars in?
I'd say like 45 maybe?
No, we have
50?
3 sections.
We have 2 sections. No, 2.
2? Close to 60. There's a huge class.
It was huge. When people heard that they had the ability to kind of plow ahead, everyone was really gung-ho, and then the reality set in that this was going to be a tremendous amount of work. I think right now we currently have a little over 40 enrolled in the 2 sections, and so we had over 55 starting before the year began. And I'll be honest, a lot dropped even in the end of the summer, they realized. All right? World language. So, we continue with the options that have been in middle school. We have Spanish, French, and Mandarin. Next year, we will be adding American Sign Language to our curriculum. So that is an option for students. We are the first IB school at this point that is going to be offering sign language, at least in Virginia. IB is working out, typically, IB has not recognized sign language as a world language. Obviously, it's different wherever you are in the world, and so this is American Sign Language, and since IB is an international program, they haven't recognized it. They are working towards that, but I will say if a student is specifically wanting to get the IB diploma, at this point, we would say that sign language will not get them to that place. So that's important to note, but it is a great option if they're interested in it. Okay.
And it could serve as another elective. So if a student's, let's say, studying Spanish, but also wants to take sign language, they could do that. They could take both of those. That would be both of their elective classes that they're able to take next year.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it in the foreseeable future that it accepts?
I'll be honest, I'm not part of the conversation at the IB level. We did receive information. We were allowed to do it through the MIP program, so I know that they're recognizing it. There are lots of conversations at IB World organization, but I just don't know where they are in the process.
I think I would have to say our advice would be that if the student is interested in pursuing the IB diploma, they should not count on taking American Sign Language as an IB language. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, and we need to be really clear, and we'll talk about IB a little later on. About a fourth of our graduating class pursues the full IB diploma. 85% of our students take IB courses. You can take IB classes in areas of strength and then not do the full diploma. So let's say a student really wants to take sign language, but they're like, oh, IB. They don't have to go for the diploma. It is a wonderful opportunity, but it is not the only option. And so I would say they should sign up for the classes that they're excited for next year. That's going to get them motivated and doing what they need to do to be successful in 9th grade. Okay? PE, everyone takes PE. And then electives. All of our electives are year-long. That's important to note, so they don't switch halfway through the year, which is a little overwhelming for students because they're like, I want to take it all, and they can't. So we'll go through quickly. I'm not going to go into too much depth with the descriptions, but they will be online. First one is design. It is a hands-on class starting with working on the computer, working with CAD for students that are interested in majors like architecture and engineering, things like that. It's a wonderful elective, and Mr. George is a great teacher. We are offering a modification of our AP Computer Science Principles class. Historically, that class has been quite theoretical, a lot of learning the basics of coding, but also learning the why behind and all of that, which is really important, but also sometimes a little bit tough for 9th graders to kind of get excited about. And so we wanted to try and create our career and technical education team really wanted to try and make something exciting. And so they're hoping to build this program from the 9th grade up. So this is not something that we're anticipating will be an upper level class. We're hoping it'll be 9th graders. They get the AP Computer Science Principles class. They will sit for the exam, which is not a difficult exam at the end of, but it's an AP exam. But they're also incorporating robotics, automation, and IoT.
Does anybody know what IoT is? I'm just curious. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I feel like a dope today when the teacher told me what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, Internet of Things.
What? Internet of Things. I still pretend like I know what that will mean. I'm a counselor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like tooling around. I just think it's going to be really hands-on. So it's taking that coding, the computer science, and making it and doing application with it. And so it'll be the combined efforts. We're thinking it's going to be a pretty big class with hopefully, they have lots of really great visions. And so if your student's interested in that, I think it's an exciting opportunity. Art 1, TV and media production, percussion ensemble, creative writing, guitar, journalism, which is working on our lasso. Chorus, we offer 2 levels of chorus. They're by audition. One is open to anybody, and the other one is a select chorus.
And just one thing about the
Please.
percussion and guitar, your student doesn't have to have like previous experience or be taking lessons. It can be like brand new.
Sure. Oh,
Sorry. Your student doesn't have to have any like previous knowledge with guitar or drums to be in either of those classes.
good.
But I think you have to have a guitar.
Do you?
You also don't have to be journalists to take journalism.
He always wants to get a better laugh than me. Thanks. Yearbook, wind ensemble and symphonic band. A student can be a beginner in band and take symphonic band. It is an audition process, and students that have been playing for a while and have a greater level of mastery can make it into wind ensemble. Computer graphics, theater 1, and film study. Those are, yes, I'll go there first.
How do you, what if everybody wants the same class?
Say it one more time.
Everyone wants
Everybody signs up for the same.
Well, we just keep our fingers crossed and hope they don't. No, there is not. That is one of the most incredible things about Falls Church is we try, if it works in the schedule, we try to make sure students get exactly what they want. And we do adjustments accordingly. I will tell you, it typically just works out in terms of the numbers. We make adjustments as needed. The only thing that can stop a student from getting into a class is if we just don't have enough sign up to run it. But what we do is we collect the numbers and then we start talking about the classes we offer. So this is the potential list. If we go back to the table and 200 kids sign up for yearbook, we're going to have to look at what we're going to do next year. But I would say it's really important to have those conversations with your student about what they're truly interested in. Getting the calls over the summer, I'm here all summer, and that's when I start, can they change to Art 1?
Yeah.
You know, I got to tell you, Art 1 fills up. They shouldn't just sign up for it, but I would say our classes are popular, help them try and make the best decision they can at this point. We're going to do our very best. I'm not sure what's going to look like, but we're going to try and get our elective teachers over and have a little bit of time with your 8th graders to have them hear from the teachers themselves and some students what they do in the electives.
And also on the form that they'll get, I think they're going to have to choose an alternate. So if their first choice isn't available, we'll try to get their second.
And it wouldn't be not available because they're closed out of it. It might be because they want to take Mandarin 3 and yearbook, and they're only both offered on the same block. I think we had...
Real quick, let me just, about that, kind of go back to that question too. Hopefully by now you know all the really great things about being in Falls Church City Schools. One of the drawbacks that we do have is we're a small school. So that's an awesome thing. But also, with each of these classes, with very few exceptions, they're only offered once in our school schedule. So a class, let's say journalism, it's going to have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in it. And it's a very popular class. Mr. Loud's a great teacher, and he engages the students, and so a lot of kids get excited about it. And so I will tell you, the seniors probably are going to get priority in getting placed in that class.
That's one of the only classes, though.
What's that?
That's one of the few classes, though, where they do.
But I do think it's important to know that, like, sometimes, and this will happen maybe a little bit more often, a little bit later on in high school, because of the selectivity of IB courses and just how few there are in our course of our schedule. But you have to know sometimes, and the kids have to know, it doesn't always work out exactly the way we want. That's why it's important to have the backup plan in terms of some of the electives and things like that.
And I will tell you, every summer, we get a phone call. Ms. Reyes, I need you to move wind ensemble in the master schedule. While I appreciate that, and I know your child really loves to play, and I do, and I'm not negating their incredible desire to play, it works for 85 kids. I'm so sorry it doesn't work for one in your schedule, but I need you to be flexible with us. And so if they want wind, they might not be able to take honors English that block. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of understanding we are a small system. We actually offer an incredible amount of classes considering how small we are. Yes?
So this is actually the thing, having moved here fairly recently. A number of these things are actual classes, and in almost every other school district I've ever seen, some of these things are called extracurricular. And the idea that people have to choose, between band and any other interest, because, I've seen that happen, seems very odd to me. So I don't really know why is band a class as opposed to an extracurricular? Why is yearbook is another one that just seems like, what is the class? Yearbook is an activity.
It's actually, no, it's okay. I mean, you should see how they design a yearbook. It is incredible. It's all computerized. I mean, it's hundreds of pages long, and the amount of work and dedication they put into it, and I understand what you're saying. So
does every other high school in the country, and they don't do it.
Actually, in Virginia, I will say I came from Fairfax, and we had exactly similar. I understand what you're saying, but this is very common amongst our area. I will say we do offer things after school, so you don't have to be in journalism to work for the lasso. So it is not this or nothing. There is an arts and craft club after school. And so there are opportunities. There's a robotics club. You don't have to be in the robotics class to take a robotics club. So while I definitely understand what you're saying, there are opportunities to do. You can take Art 1 and do robotics after school, and this way you're not marginalized in that.
Yeah, but if you do contract band, it affects your GPA. Like, there's things like that or whatever.
There are workarounds, though, yeah, I mean, with pass-fail and things like that. I think there are, but we can definitely talk if you'd like to have a more in-depth conversation to see what's best for your student. We'd be happy to do that, for sure. Yes?
Is photography intentionally missing from the list?
It is not.
Well, yes, it is intentionally missing.
Oh, I thought you said it potentially, sorry.
It's only for 10th grade and above.
Yes. Photography.
Photography for 10th and above.
Yeah.
How many electives do they get in ninth grade?
If they're taking a world language, they get one additional elective. If they're not taking a world language, they get 2. They take 7 classes. It's a hard choice. I know. Great news, after PE is done, they have 2 classes in their schedule, 2 electives. Yes?
Is it an option to take PE over the summer still available?
It is. We do offer PE online through the HRC program, and so students then could engage in 2 electives. They can either do it over the summer or do it during the school year. We don't advertise that per se, because for many students, really managing 7 classes is enough, but if your student feels that that's in their best interest, we definitely would sign them up for that.
And I've had students do that so that they could take wind ensemble or band and another elective.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes?
So most of these are offered all 4 years through high school, so if they can't take creative writing this year, they can take it in 10th grade.
Potentially, yes. Yes. I will say for creative writing, though, we only have, depending on the year, 1 or 2 levels of it. And so if they're thinking of creative writing, they'll max out at level 2. And so they'd probably have to engage in something else after that.
Oh, they would only take that for 2 years.
Right. Yes.
How many of these classes are part of a progression? Like, is this design 1, art 1, or this, or is it theater?
Very few classes are standalones. Film studies goes to film studies 2, goes to IB film. Theater, our arts programs all progress all the way through IB. Yearbook, you can do 4 years. Court, there's
Journalism, 4 years.
Creative writing's only
2, creative writing and guitar.
and TV media.
At this point, the only 2 that I can see on here that are really cap at 2 years are going to be creative writing and guitar. TV media, he's building his courses, and so that will continue as well. Computer graphics, if they do computer graphics 1 and 2, they could potentially then go into IB art, and so engage in the same media. Yeah.
So these are mixed grades, right?
Yes.
So it could be kids that, so somebody who didn't get an opportunity to do part 1 their freshman year, and then maybe a sophomore or junior.
Yes, good question. Yeah.
Why are still at 7 a.m.?
So we have 2 choirs. We have the select choir, which is at 7, and then we have the regular chorus, which is during the school day. That was a new addition this year. Any other questions? Yes.
So is the idea with electives that you can choose different electives every year to just kind of broaden your knowledge base, or should you do one that's focused on one and continue with it all 4 years?
I think that is a really good question, and there isn't one answer. The question was, can you experience all different types of electives and try out different things and broaden your knowledge base, or should you stay one and progress with it all 4 years? I think it depends on what's right for your child. I will say college will say they'd like to see you kind of stick with 1 or 2 things and continue and progress to the highest level you can. That's not right for every child, and so if they haven't found their passion with any of these, try something new, but you can continue. And if they're able to, I think that's a wonderful opportunity to kind of become masters of that when they're seniors and be able to mentor freshmen. I will tell you, we have a student who graduated last year. He was in TV media, and I was talking to his parents the other day, and he goes to Penn State, and the opportunities that he has had having done our TV media here, he's actually doing an internship with ESPN this year, and on the fields at the games and doing all these incredible things that, I'll be honest with you, I saw him always walking around with the camera, and he's a great young man, but I was blown away to hear just the experience here allowed him to do that there at Penn State, which is enormous. So I do think there's opportunities for lots of growth, no matter what you like. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
No, it's
missed
okay.
part of the chorus conversation.
Yeah.
So did you say that if you try out for chorus and you get into like the advanced chorus versus beginner chorus, that's not during the school day, that's at 7 a.m.? And how does that work?
This year it is being offered as a morning class, so it's from 7 till 8, I believe, 7:10 till 8. I'm assuming it will be that next year. That's the select group.
But if your child gets into the select group and doesn't want to do the early morning, they could always be in the regular class.
Yes.
Okay.
But it can't be the other way around.
Right.
But if they were in the morning, that would allow them to do,
Another
they would allow them to
Another
take
line.
it.
Yes.
Got it, okay, thank you.
But you cannot be in that class if you haven't auditioned into it. Questions? Okay. Supports we offer here at George Mason. I know it's very different coming into high school. Your student has been on a team in 8th grade. Everything's contained and they're directed, and it's awesome, and it's so appropriate for 8th grade and middle school. And then they come here and they're left to their own devices a lot, and that can be wonderfully freeing for kids, and they make the right decisions, and for some it's more of a struggle, and the adjustment to helping them find where they need to be takes a while. And so we try to offer as many supports as possible to help students along the way. Obviously, your student has counselors that are always available to help. Our ratio, I do need to always point out, the number of kids that they have on their caseload is bigger than they have at the middle school, and they all have 9th through 12th graders. And they don't just have one grade. And so, your counselor will have a whole continuum of kids, and Brad, you have almost 300 students this year. And so it's a lot. We do our very best to support, but you just reach out and definitely encourage your children to reach out if they need anything. We have our ESR room, our Educational Support Room, which is available to every student in our building. It is open all day long. It is staffed by teachers, and it's really there for a variety of reasons. A student can come in at any time if they need help understanding something, if they need help with organization, if they just need a quiet place to do work. There's a variety of things that they can do in the ESR to help support students if they need additional help. Library is open all day and then after school to get some work done. Many kids, when they go home, it's over. There's no homework, and so sometimes staying here is really beneficial. For students that have historically struggled in math or reading skills, they might need a little extra support to be successful. We do offer a math skills class and a reading skills class to help bolster their foundational knowledge so they can be successful in their regular class. It is not through a special education, a placement in that class. They're typically placed there because of their STAR scores or because of SOLs. And if you have concerns and you want your child to have extra support in that, please reach out to Mr. Showers and we can have the conversation whether it's the right fit or not. Writing lab, we offer a writing lab every day after school except for short Wednesdays, and it's an awesome opportunity because I know a lot of times kids will go to a teacher and I need help, and they're like, with what? I don't know. Well, you need to know before I can help you. You can go to the writing lab and say, I don't know, and the teacher's going to help you start brainstorming with how to write. And I think that's it's an incredibly valuable tool for a lot of our students, and they use that for college essays all the way to starting in 9th grade, how to write the paper. We do a lot of writing here.
And they can go use it for any class. It doesn't have to be an English class. They could be writing a paper in government or something later on. We also have the Mustang Ambassadors. This is a group of juniors and seniors who sort of serve as mentors to the incoming 9th graders. Mustang Block, for those of you who have current high schoolers, you know that this is sort of a 30-minute study block every day. No one has class, so it's really great. Kids can go see any teacher. If they want to just stay in the classroom and do homework, if they need to make up a test, if they want to just a break. Cafeteria's open, they can get breakfast, library's open, so it's a really great opportunity for them.
And if I can say, Mustang Block is an opportunity for you to have a conversation with your rising 9th grader about making good choices. It's freedom. It's freedom they've never had before, and that is really exciting, and it is awesome to be able to find your friends and hang out. But when you need help, it's a really hard decision to say, I'm going to go to my biology teacher today and work on that lab, right, when your friends are hanging out. I would say have those conversations starting from the inception of 9th grade. Make a plan. Come up with, today you're going to go to biology. You'll take breaks on Tuesday and Friday, but maybe Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to go and you're going to get extra help and you come up with a schedule. I think they a lot of times need that guidance at the beginning so they can start making good habits, study habits. But it's a nice time because a lot of our kids just need to de-stress for a little bit and have that break in the day. Peer tutoring, we do offer peer tutors in almost every subject, and so you just need to reach out and let someone know and we can hook them up with a student tutor. Saturday Learning Lounge, we do our library is open most Saturday mornings from 9:30 until 12:30. It's staffed by an adult teacher, and then you can request as a 9th grader a tutor to come in from one of the honor societies and work with your student. If they're struggling in Spanish, the Spanish Honor Society, someone can come in. You have to request online, and then they'll confirm it, so you'll know when you get there there's a tutor available. Schoology and obviously Power School are incredible tools to manage, for you to know what's going on with your student and for your student to manage all of their coursework. If you don't have a Schoology account, I would say the second they come in, get signed up so you know also what's going on. And then case managers, if your student has a 504 and IEP, obviously the case managers will be there to support them in their transition into high school and as they move forward. It's a lot. Mustang Block is
9:43 to 10:18.
18. Yeah.
Can they move around in multiple places? Or
They can go wherever, as long as they're in the building, wherever they want. Yes.
Do you do A and B days like they do in for the phase 1 read?
We do even and odd. It is different than what MEH does, but we do 1, 3, 5, 7 on odd days, and 2, 3, 4, 6 on even days. 3 is an embedded period. 3 happens every day for 50 minutes. Every other class is an hour and a half every other day. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Yes. It'll be in the program of studies. I promise once your child lives it, it will make perfect sense to them, and you're still going to be like, what day are you on? But it's all online. It's not, I can explain it if you need me to come up, I'll explain it. Yes.
It's 1 year committed, right? They will change your report. The child that is in the next report and you.
Yes.
Do you organize them visit the current classes, for example, grade 8 to now visit the current class where it's happening in high school, where they have a basic understanding what it's doing?
Let me just make sure I heard you. You're asking if, since they sign up for a class for the whole year, do they have the opportunity to come visit the class and hear what's going on? Sure, before they make the final decision. It's very difficult to have our 8th graders come over here. There are some 230 of them. But we are doing our best to organize a small elective fair over at the middle school, so we'll go to them and talk about the classes so they have a better sense. And we're hoping to bring students with them so they can hear. It will not be happening before we go over to choose classes next week, just because of time constraints, but we're hoping to do that before their final decisions are made, and so they can go back in the system and change what they want to take if they hear something
We
they'd
can
rather.
change something by the end, before the end of the school year. So let's say the decisions are made, and then we put into the computer, but then we have this fair, and then the kid's like, oh, wait a minute, that sounds way better. We can change that before the end of the school year, so that's okay.
But numbers go in mid-March, and that's when we're starting to make decisions on number of classes that we're offering. Don't listen to
It's fine.
Yes.
What about changing classes after the school year starts?
Sure. The question was, what about changing classes after the school year begins? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so a student can change like to a different elective or different class within the first 10 days of the semester. If they wanted to, if they realized they were in honors English and they need to move down to regular English, they can do that up to 6 weeks.
Going down a level.
Down up to 6 weeks.
Yes.
So they have more time to kind of test it out and see if that's the right fit for them.
And while they can do it, it's a move. They've already gotten settled, and now there's more upheaval. So I would say the best choices they can make with the limited information they have is your best guess. Hopefully they can stick with that so they're in the classes they want to be in and they kind of settle in immediately. Yes.
So the kids are both going down, they can move up.
They can move up for the first 10 days. After that, they cannot move up because that's when the curriculum starts to get diverge, and then we're missing stuff. We don't want to do that to them. So 10 days they can move up. Any other questions? Awesome. All right. So, please.
You had mentioned there were several things available online. Can you tell me where exactly online that would be?
Absolutely. At the end, I'll show you our website, and I'll show you where everything will be. Not a problem. I am now going to transition into a little bit of IB information. I'll give you guys a minute. It's a lot to listen to. Please do not feel you have to stay. We're just going to go over some of the basics. I am not the IB coordinator. He was not able to make it tonight. So our knowledge base is really what we know as counselors. So we're not going to...
Honestly.
Maybe Mr. McAdams should lead that portion of the program. So we'll start that in just a couple minutes. So this is Mr. Coast's presentation. I'm going to modify this. I think what's the most important thing to know is that we are an IB system. Okay, we are the only IB system K-12 in Virginia, which is exciting. A lot of times when you hear the word, oh, I'm an IB student, people think of what is actually the DP program, the diploma program. Diploma program is in 11th and 12th grade. And you cannot actually decide to be a diploma candidate until you're really in 10th grade starting to plan for your coursework. So we're going to give you a basic outline, but this is really just preparedness. I think if the focus is solely on this going into 9th grade, you're missing kind of the whole experience of coming into high school and all of that, what that means. Your student has been in the MIP program at Henderson and will continue here in 9th and 10th grade. All of our classes are MIP classes. I'm sure you've seen the learner profile, and I will tell you these are what we strive for our students to embrace all of these. The words just failed me, guys. I'm done. It's been a long day. I'm so sorry. Attributes? What did you say? Attributes. Adjectives. What? Adjectives. Okay, thanks. Okay. Words. all of these great things. These are the requirements for the MIP program. All of our classes our core classes are aligned with the MIP program, and they're required to also additionally take certain electives that fulfill the arts and the design component of MIP. This is the grading system for MIP. For me to speak about this would be doing it a disservice, and they've been experiencing this for the last 3 years. And so if you have further questions on this, I'd encourage you to reach out to Ms. Miller, and her information will be on the back. But this really just talks about how when students are at the end of their assessment and they're kind of covering the summative assessment, this is how they're graded. And Ms. Miller will hold sessions, I believe, at the beginning of 9th grade. There's lots of opportunities to hear about this, and I would be doing it a disservice to talk about it, but that's the basics. The most important thing for us for the MIP project, for the MIP program, is in the end of 10th grade, or actually in March of 10th grade, students will present their MIP project. And it's an exciting opportunity for students to investigate and produce a topic that doesn't actually earn them a grade, but it's really to embrace that idea of learning for learning's sake and enjoying the process. I'll give the example of my 2 students, their projects this year. So we're all advisors. Every adult in the building is an MIP advisor. We work with them from the middle of 9th grade till the time of their project. One of my students wanted to learn how to draw. He's a twin, and his brother is apparently an incredible artist, and he is super jealous. And so he said, Ms. Reyes, I want to learn how to draw as my MIP project. And so we came up with different ways to teach yourself how to draw, using online tutorials, looking at a book, doing different things. And he's kind of tracking all of that. He's recording it, and his project is going to be showing his progression in teaching himself how to draw. Not a lot of work, because he actually wants to do that anyway. So we're not creating this, crazy case study. It's something he wanted to do, and we're allowing him to achieve that in an organized way of learning how to research and learning how to write about it. My other student was really interested in learning about lesser-known genocides of the 19th century. And so he's doing a presentation on those two. Super different, right? Couldn't be more different. But they're 2 different kids, and that was what their passion was to learn about. And so we embraced that, and we figured out projects around that. And there are adults here to support them through that process. It starts in the middle of 9th grade. The process begins talking about it, and then it's a year long to kind of work them through. It doesn't require a lot of work at any particular. It is. It's part of the curriculum.
We give them a lot of opportunity throughout the school year to work on it, so
Yes.
it's not something they have to really do a lot of time outside of school.
Right, we give them a lot of time for PE and.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so biggest thing for becoming a diploma candidate. A diploma program are the last 2 years of high school, so a junior and senior year. You cannot take an IB class as a 9th or 10th grader. They're only for 11th and 12th graders. And we really do see that taking an IB coursework prepares students for the rigors of college. One of the most interesting things for us, we had our IB ceremony a few weeks ago, and students come back and they talk about their experience, or students that have earned the diploma. And the one thing that stood out to me the most was a student was talking about biology. He took IB biology HL biology, 2 years, and did well.
HL stands for higher level.
Thank you. We talk in acronyms. I don't know why, but please ask if you don't understand. So higher level, standard level. Those are the 2 levels of classes that you take in the IB DP world. He took higher level biology, did well, and when he got to college, he realized that all of his friends that were in biology as freshmen were learning the same exact stuff that he learned as a senior, and he's tutoring people. Amazing. He's not a science major. That is not his realm. But just having taken that in high school, he is prepared. And then someone else this morning was talking about their student had the same experience in chemistry. And so they really are super prepared for college. The reading, the writing skills, the research skills, those are the skills that are required through IB that will prepare them for their 4 years in college and beyond. Something that is incentivizing for students, if students take an IB class, they do get an extra bump in their GPA. So we're on a 4.0 scale. If they take an IB class or an AP class, it is out of a 5.0 scale. And so they get a bump. So if a student earns an A, that's typically a 4, it's actually calculated as a 5 into their overall GPA. And that's exciting. But what's important to know, it still says the letter grade. It doesn't change the letter grade. If they earn a B, it still says a B. The overall calculation, it adds a little bit, but we want them to challenge themselves and do the best they can, but doing an IB class and getting a D and not understanding the coursework and the content isn't right for most, that's not the right move for most kids. We want them to challenge themselves and be successful. The bump isn't enough to get someone into college. These are stats about IB candidate acceptance rate. It's exciting to look at. I think it gets in the weeds and we forget about, these are numbers, these are statistics, this is what colleges put out. I will tell you, an full IB diploma gets kids ready for college. IB courses gets kids ready for college. We are doing everything we can, no matter what program they're in, to help them prepare for their post-secondary life. But the rates are higher for students that are in the IB program. Like I said, 85% of our students take one or more IB classes by the time they graduate. And I would say no matter what type of learner you have, there is an IB class for them. We offer IB psychology, IB computer science, IB design, so they don't have to be exceptional at math or science. There is somewhere for them to challenge themselves, no matter who they are. Again, IB diploma or IB courses, that is not a decision that needs to be made now. It's just opportunity that you can do both. I will say the full diploma, this is a lovely graphic. I mean, I'm standing here and I can't read it, but it's pretty and I'm sure it has lots of good information, and when we post it online, I encourage you to look at it. But there's a point to what I wanted to say. Nope, gone, okay. It was good. In IB, there are 6 different subject groups that students have to take if they're going for the full IB diploma, and this is where they fall. Group 1 is language and literature. We offer standard level or higher level wherever they want to pursue. Again, the world languages are French, Spanish, and Mandarin. Social studies. There's actually a variety of things that they can take under the individuals and societies label. One of the most important things is making sure that we are preparing them not only for the Virginia diploma, but the IB diploma. And sometimes actually in that section, things go like this a little bit. And so that's taking the work of Mr. Coast and the counselors together to make sure that we're getting ready not only for graduation, but also for the IB diploma. Science, math, and arts. Your student doesn't have to be an artist to pursue the IB diploma. That group 6, it does say arts, but a student could choose to take psychology in that group 6. IB psychology, they could take IB computer science, they could do another language. It doesn't have to be an arts requirement. This is kind of the extra. This is the stuff that the IB diploma is made of. So the coursework is one thing, this is the above and beyond. And so we have creativity, action, and service called CAS, the extended essay, which is a 4,000-word essay that they work on junior year, and it's supposed to be done by the rough draft is due at the the summer before their senior year, and theory of knowledge, TOK. Theory of knowledge is a 2-semester class, and it's a class about learning. And I will tell you, you don't have to be a diploma candidate to take TOK, but it's awesome. It is a class it's unlike any other class they'll take in high school, where they get to really explore the ways of thinking. Our students that come back that have taken a philosophy course are like, I know all this stuff, and it's not philosophy per se, but those topics, the conversations, it's a lot of Socratic seminars, it's just cool. And it's unlike most other high school level classes. This has to do with doing things, giving back, thinking about our world beyond what your student does, but doing activity, doing community service. And we have people that support these endeavors for our diploma candidates and help them work through so they're not on their own as they pursue it. Because it's a lot of extra work, right? You have to be super committed to pursuing this for the IB diploma in order to engage in these extra things beyond the other really hard classes they're taking. So we're here to support them through that.
So are those classes?
I'm sorry?
The only one that's a class is theory of knowledge. The other ones are things that they would be doing outside of
Do they take that as an elective or?
Sure. I mean, it's required for the IB diploma. So
Yes.
I wouldn't.
But it takes an elective spot.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure, before that, you had film studies, music, theater, visual arts. So what that basically says is on the IB diploma, you have to take your electives out of those buckets. So if you want to take creative probably couldn't take creative writing in 11th or 12th grade.
Great question. That's a very good point.
That wouldn't count as one of those 4 months.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you can get into the weeds. We do offer a morning TO clay class for students that really want to do something like creative writing or band. I would say band's the typical one where they don't want to give that up, and we don't want them to have to do that. We want them to pursue what they want, and so they can take TOK in the morning, 7, every day.
Not Friday.
Except for Friday.
Except they do band.
Anything else that will free up a block.
Do IB diploma unless they take a class, an additional class that's outside the work school?
I shouldn't have opened
Not
that.
necessarily.
No, there's a,
It's very individualized,
Kind of.
depends on what
Kind of.
what courses they take.
But that's why we have the morning class.
yeah.
We gave them that opportunity.
This talks about, you had asked about the classes that, to getting you to a point, and does it preclude you from moving forward? I will tell you, if your student wants to pursue higher level literature in 11th and 12th grade, that's our highest level English class, it would behoove them to take honors English, right? You're preparing, that's kind of a nice segue in. If they choose to take standard level English, they can get there without having taken honors. But I will tell you, the coursework they will do in the honors level will help them transition into the higher level class easier. If for an IB diploma, and this is you're not gonna, so I'm sorry, but I have to say it. You have to take minimum of 3 higher level classes and 3 standard level classes. And so at some point, in some place, you're gonna have to really push. And so if in those areas we're gonna have to push, if a student can access an honors level class in those areas, that will help them to push further. Oh, the Lux, it breaks my heart, I'm sorry. I'm trying.
But I mean, if like a student's more of a humanities type of person, arts and humanities, they can, take higher level English, history, and let's say art or theater or something like that. So it's not like you have to be like super, math genius or something to do this.
Nope. At any level math, you can access the IB diploma. Yeah.
Under the grade 9
Yes.
language, can you start out at a 1 or do you have to start at a 2?
You could start at a 1. Any questions on this? It just kind of shows the progression. And again, it's recommendations. It's not required. But as you can see, the student was in regular 9, regular 10, and then proceeded on. Same exact thing. And again, this will be online, so you can take a look at it. One of the most important pieces, and this just gets into the semantics of it all, the specifics, is planning for if your student, if you know this is who they are, they're going to be a diploma candidate. One of the hiccups in our coursework is economics and personal finance. It is a requirement for graduation, and it's just something to think about because it doesn't quite fit in the schedule when you're going for the IB diploma. And so a lot of our IB diploma candidates do one semester over the summer in between sophomore and junior year, and do the other one over the summer between junior and senior year. It is not an incredibly taxing course, but it does require time, and so that's just a nice way to kind of get it done when you're not worrying about anything else. But that's one of the things you do have to plan ahead for.
The other thing, just to point out, is that going back to that theory of knowledge course, the TOK that we mentioned before, the way that course is set up is it bridges junior and senior year. So it's taught the second semester of the student's junior year and then the first semester of senior year. So in those alternate semesters, so semester 1 of junior year, maybe semester 2 of senior year, a student could then take personal finance and economics during that time as well.
Those are separate classes for separate.
Correct. I mean, they're
both required.
It's a year-long class, one semester focuses on econ, one
They can
semester
just-
focuses on.
Is there IB econ?
There is. Great question, and that's actually a lot of students do that. They don't want to worry about doing something over the summer. Take IB economics, 2 check boxes, one of the IB requirements and personal finance. Great question. This is a lot, guys. These decisions and we don't expect you to even think about making them now. It's just putting thoughts, and so you have a base of knowledge for when your student starts high school, starting the conversations. Am I going the wrong way? No. Here are their contact information. Alicia Miller is our MIP IB coordinator. She does work at Henderson half-time as well, and so she's over there. I'm sure your students have met her, and then she's here the other half of her time. And then Dan Coast, he's our DP coordinator, and he's actually, I think, the president-elect for IB in Virginia, which is why he's not here tonight. So he knows it all, and he's really good at what he does, and he's always happy to engage parents at any level, and so if you have questions starting now about things, call him, reach out to him, and he'll happily talk to you about it. That's it. What questions, if any, do you guys have?
Online course descriptions and all that.
Yes. Let me show you where that will be. That sounds good?
And when is that available?
When I finish.
The summer classes are you asking?
No, when I finish it, which will hopefully be the end of this week, beginning of next week.